Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining in. Today's lesson will be recorded, and we will be sharing an email after with some surveys, as well as this link in our future offerings. Thank you for joining us today. This is the 8th edition of our series. We'll be continuing this on. We've been really diving into budgeting methods, just 2 each month, try to break it down so you can pick and choose kind of which one will work for you. And then again, you can always choose a little bit of each. Be sure to check out our new webinar page that we just put up that has past and future webinars, just in case you missed anything or want to catch up. So today we are covering cash envelope budgeting method. I know a lot of people have heard or maybe understand the simple concept of what this is, but I want to dive into just a little bit deeper and give you a little bit of professional insight. Hopefully this will help you on your journey in becoming and taking charge of your money. So as always, we start with a great quote. Cash in envelopes is a great way to manage your money, no matter how well you are doing with your money. And this comes from our awesome cash envelope guru, Dave Ramsey. You can also find at daveramsey.com a lot of different techniques, even further bellying down. But for the sake of the 15-minute webinar, I want to respect that. So first, let's define what the cash envelope method is. It simply is taking cash, you get your paycheck or whatever savings you have, you take it out each month, and you put in envelopes. And there are sure some setbacks and questions that people have about different types of transactions, and we'll cover those here in the thing. But first, let's figure out how you start, right? So first, you have to write down your budget. And I know that all the budgets that we do or any of the budgeting that we do generally starts with writing down your current bills, right? Currently what you pay for it. And it's just different to see it on paper. Some people are great at managing it through their phone or laptop or desktop, but I still will always push for the traditional pen and paper method because I think it allows you to actually see it, write it down. When you write it down, it comes more ingrained in your memory. And you're going to use these, you're going to be making these cash envelopes for categories like groceries, gas, personal entertainment, could be eating out, could be anything from utility bills. A lot of the times what goes in our cash envelopes are going to be set budgets. This also goes for your disposable income. Whether you give yourself a daily budget, a weekly budget, a monthly budget of money that you get to spend on essentially what you want, right? I don't want to say like unexpected expenses because they're not emergencies, but you just might I'm going to go out with my friends tonight, have some food, or I might want to purchase this product from the store because I've been looking at it for a while and I have this is my budget. So everything comes in a budget. So when you write out your budget, make sure it's significant. And then if you do have a significant other, maybe it's not even someone you're married to, but just someone else you pay bills with, maybe even sometimes roommates. If you're not paying all your bills, but you split some like the cable, rent, stuff like that, it's good for even those people to help connect that money, right? So if you have a roommate or a person that lives with you that you're collecting this from, it might be good to have the envelope so they can put their money in there when they have it. And then when the rent comes due, it's available. Same thing with like cable. I have seen some people do that, but when you're talking about a significant other, we do mean like a person you're dating or you might be married to. Because if they're not on board, they're not gonna see the same prize. They're not gonna be on the same boat, swimming for the finish line there. So definitely get the onboard from that other person is very impactful in your life. And if you don't have that person, try talking to a friend about this and creating accountability. We know that when we create accountability, we're more likely to do things versus if we just talked about it in our mind and it doesn't happen, then well, we're not really letting anybody down but ourselves. And then third step is the easy one. You create and fill the envelopes for what categories you choose, right? So you have all these envelopes laid out. Sometimes this is what I hear to be the most painstaking process because you literally have to go to the bank. You have to get cash out. And sometimes 20s don't work. So you can't go to the ATM, so you have to go inside. But essentially, once you do this a couple months in a row, you'll know exactly what you want. So you can go through the drive-through. And I've seen this in my banking rules, where I'll get an envelope in, says I need $400, and it gives me the exact breakdown. And that's no problem for a teller to fill out. I mean, we have that as long as we have the denominations. I don't have $500 bills, but as long as you have the denominations, it's easy to send back out, and those envelopes good. And the envelopes are usable. So again, once you write that envelope out, you use it each month, right? And so the setup process is the longest once you get in the rhythm of how much money you're using for your budget. But this step is very important. And here's why. It allows you to remember what you're doing with your money. A lot of times, if we just manage an account online, we have one account and our money comes in and it just goes out through debit cards or bills. Sometimes the money can disappear a little bit faster. Excuse me. But when we go through this process of stopping in the bank, getting the money. We know very quickly how much we're spending. You can almost, after probably about a month or two, already know exactly what's going to each envelope instead of looking at your list. Some people, when they have their envelopes, they will write like gas, and they'll put the dollar amount, so it's very quick. But once you get this process down, it does become quick and it becomes more efficient. Um, and then again, it's great because it only allows you to spend what's in there. Now, obviously, yes, I know you can reach for another envelope, but this is where you come into play, and this is where you have to hold yourself accountable and really keep on thinking about the victory, right? You're doing this budget or another budget because you're not happy with what you're currently in, right? Maybe you have too much debt. Maybe you have money, just again, you have something else going on, but you're managing and restructuring for a specific reason. So keep yourself on task. If the money runs out, what it is if it's an emergency, obviously you have that, but what it is reassess that budget. Was the original dollar amount too low? I see a lot of this when people are deciding their disposable income. I know when I was getting on mine, I started at like $50 and I was gone through that in like 2 days. And so I had to put another 50 in there. And so I was realizing, even with like going to work, maybe eating lunch, stuff like that, I was still spending about $100 a week. And so you have to adjust these envelopes sometimes, and don't discourage yourself. But what you don't want to do is excessively overspend, right? If your disposable income envelope, your free money envelope is empty, don't reach into some other kind of bill and take money out of that, because you're gonna have to pay back later. You really have to assess and say, okay, is this necessary? Do I need this? There are some things we need in life that are not, they're not needs. There's things that I need in life that are not needs. Like sometimes I want coffee, right? Well, if I spend my coffee budget, then that's what I got to do. I got to figure out a cheaper place to do it. Can I stretch it? Can I homebrew? I mean, these will open up things for you to better assess what you're spending your money on. I see people that get in these trends, and they've been doing it for so long, right? Like people that go to like Starbucks every single day, and they forget how much that adds up to each month. Well, when you're doing this cash envelope process, you're going to find out really quickly, because you're going to set yourself a budget that doesn't really fit. So what are some of the advantages of the cash envelope method? It has no problem keeping you on track, right? It will literally, if you put $20 in there, that $20 is it, right? And that's it. So it has nothing to do it. And it does, because of that, it will enforce the discipline, right? It will help you stay on track as far as that. It will help you keep discipline. And then if you don't have a friend you talk to, it will also help you holds you accountable, right? So it does. So if you, these 3 steps right here are just because you take cash and put it in an envelope. And it does all those 3 for you, as long as you are true to yourself and keep on doing it. And I know that you can. I know that you can handle this. I know that you can be successful in this cash envelope method. I've seen a lot of people be successful at this. Now, this is a little bit more difficult for people that are really, truly like, I like, use my debit card and always online banking, and I don't go to the bank. This is a more traditional one. This is for people that maybe don't rely on online banking and mobile banking often. You still might do some things here and there, but most of your stuff is cash, is cash handled. So, and again, this is the further part. So unless you cheat, it's nearly impossible to do it. And it should get better as the months go on, because it is repetitive, right? You will fine tune it. You might even get to the point where you don't actually have to physically stuff an envelope. You just know where it goes, right? And that's fine. You can tune this budget up. These steps or these layouts are just for you to begin. Everybody should make their budget their own, because we're all unique in ourselves, right? We don't have the same things. You don't struggle from the same things that I struggle from, and vice versa. So this is definitely something as a starting point, but don't be afraid with any of these methods that we talked about, that you kind of bring in a different topic, right? Or something different. Like you might do the cash envelope method, but then you say, well, I make some purchases online. How does that do? So this goes into our other things to consider. So what if you make online purchases, right? Well, you can't just put cash into your computer. Well, sometimes I've had a lot of people do different ways. They will actually have a separate account that has no debit card, just a folder, if you will, and they put that money there. And that's their online folder, right? That's, I spend $75 a month, and maybe buy all your groceries now with Ship and all those other things going out there. You might be making more online purchases, and you can do the same thing with having multiple accounts, because most times nowadays, credit unions and financial institutions alike don't charge for individual accounts like a service charge. So you can have literally as many accounts as you want. The only thing that they ask is that you use it. I have 7 different accounts that I use, and I do a little bit of the cash envelope method for my disposable income. So I try not to reach my debit card for everyday expenses that I'm like, eating out lunch, or I might throw a couple dollars in the vending machine. Like I try not to touch my debit card for that, because that's when some things get forgotten. So I keep my cash envelope for that, and then I try to do some other things for the online. But that's how it kind of goes into it. So you got to be comfortable, if you're still doing online purchases, to have an account. It doesn't generally have a debit card, it's just an account. You make from your main account, you dump it in there. We all know transfers happen real time, instantaneously. It's safe. But this is another folder. This is a way of doing it. So that's how you would make online purchases. Another option, if you're really not comfortable with that, is you generally whatever you're buying at, like let's say you're buying Meijer groceries and you're buying it online. Well, you can get a Meijer gift card, right? Those are free. They don't cost anything besides the actual dollar amount. And that's still a way that you can make your online purchases without being digital. Because there might be some people that do the cash envelope that are really drawn to it, that really do not like online banking. And that's okay. That's what this method complements in, is it allows you to do it manually. So what if the cash runs out of your envelope? That's a great question. I generally say reassess. Obviously, emergencies can come up. And this is why we have savings. So your savings isn't really a cash envelope, right? Your savings is a goal each month that you save before you divvy up your money for your expenses. So that's kind of what happens if you run out of cash in your envelope, as long as you don't make it a trend or a habitual thing where you're continuing to take out more money and more money. But you're not gonna be perfect at the first month. No one is. The first month you do it, you might be off on some budgets, and not the bills that stay set, but let's say, okay, for utility bills, right? Utility bills change throughout the year. Mine's really expensive right now and gets real cheap in the summertime because I open my windows in the summertime. So those are some things that like could change, right? You might have, okay, cool, I'm trying to normalize my utility bill. I know it's usually, if I add up the whole year divided by 12, it's about $200 a month. Well, in the summertime it's only 50. You might want to consider keeping that extra 150 and throw it in your savings account so that when the fall comes up, if that envelope runs out with a 50, you just put the 150 in there, or maybe adjust it. There's nothing wrong with doing it. The idea is that you write it down and keep track of it, because when you do that, it keeps you accountable. So, and in covering emergencies and unexpected expenses, I already kind of touched base on it. You have to have a savings account. I can never say anything. If people say, what's your number one thing to recommend financially? It's always concentrate on savings, make savings a bill, right? Don't just be like, oh, whatever's left over, but actually make it a bill that you contribute to each month, because emergencies and unexpected expenses, they're just that. They have to be fixed or they're unexpected. And it's like, you got to get to work. If you get sick or ill, it has to happen. So these are generally not ones that are, again, in an envelope. We should still have that 3 to 6 months savings set aside. And I know if you don't have that, we can baby step. I'm not sure if anybody has caught my building emergency savings webinar, but I definitely check back on that if you want more help on building that kind of that backup savings. There's more theories about that, but yeah, you got to have that side sign for that. And then what about leftover money, right? Let's say that you are getting really good on your leftover money. Well, it depends what envelope it's in, right? If it's in your disposable income, you could leave it in there, right? And fund it next week so you have more money. Maybe you could do something more fun. I know every single week I'm not doing something every single week. There's sometimes it's like I skip a week and the next week I'll go do something. So you might do that. If you have an envelope that something's coming up next week, like let's say you got going on a trip and you just want more of that disposable income for that, well, just leave that envelope, roll it over and keep on funding it. And that's what it is. But again, this does the same thing. So you think about these envelopes, you can do this digitally as well. If you have accounts online that have not debit cards, you just transfer the money between the envelopes. So that's something to definitely do with leftover money. I always recommend, if you have leftover money, if it's not something that's like going to be needed for in the next like 30 days, dump it to your savings account. There's no one that ever will say that you have, oh, it's too much in savings. And I'm not talking about sitting on large funds versus like investing. I'm just talking about having emergency funds available at your grips. No one's ever going to say it's a bad idea. And the best part, and this is a real thing, which I found really cool, was they actually make a wallet for this. They have a wallet that's not backed by like Dave Ramsey or anything like that, but it's actually a wallet for the cash envelope method that you can buy online. They have it on Amazon, but it actually has like 2 or 3 little compartments in it, so you don't have to have the paper envelope. So it makes it even easier for the on-the-go user if you're really trying to make this happen. There's a lot of people that just will in their wallet or purse, they'll fold up dollars and keep them separate that way, but you might lose track of it. This one actually has separate little pockets for it. So talking about the cash envelope method, that's all I have for this method. Hopefully that was intriguing enough to get you started, or at least give you enough information to start the fire. But if you are interested, definitely take out your phone and scan the QR code. We do have a new webinars page. This will allow you to see all of our past. We usually do last month's past, and then we'll do the future ones coming up. Feel free to sign up for them. As we always like more people in these meetings or on these webinars, the more the merrier. All right. Well, that's all I have today. I definitely want to thank you for choosing in. We definitely appreciate you. If there's ever any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, as we are here to serve you.